The 4 types of solar contracts and a different strategy for selling each one. Same house, 4 contracts, 4 different ways to sell it. When a homeowner with solar comes to me thinking about selling, the first question is always the same. Which of the 4 contract types do you have? Because the strategy for selling your home, what we document, who we call first, what we time when, depends entirely on that answer. Let me walk you through each one. Owned outright. You paid cash, you own the equipment. There is no third party with a vote on whether the home can sell. This is the simplest structure and the one with the most upside. The strategy here is to document the system for the appraiser using Form 82007, the Residential Green and Energy Efficient Addendum, published by the Appraisal Institute. We lead the listing with the energy savings and the system actually produces. We deliver the documentation directly to the appraiser, and we position the solar as the appreciating asset it is. Homeowners with properly documented owned systems regularly leave money on the table because nobody knew about Form 82007. The strategy is to not leave it there. Financed. You have a solar loan. The strategy is different. The first call is to the financing company. You request the payoff in writing, specifically the payoff to sell, which can be different from the current balance. You check for prepayment penalty triggered by the sale itself. You confirm whether a bridge loan structure shifted the balance, and you plan the UCC3 termination, the release of the UCC1 filing on your property records, so the title transfers cleanly. Leased. The solar company owns the equipment. The strategy starts the day the listing goes live. You initiate the transfer process with the solar company immediately. You confirm what they require, notice period, transfer fee, buyer credit qualification, written approval. Some companies require 90 days. Your closing window may be 60. You work the company's timeline backwards from the closing date you want, and you have a clean conversation with the buyer early about whether they assume the lease or you buy out of it. PPA, Power Purchase Agreement, mechanically similar to a lease for transfer purposes, but the strategy adds one piece, the escalation clause. Most PPAs raise the rate 2 to 4% every year. A rate that looked good 10 years ago at signing looks different 15 years in. We handle that honestly with the buyer's agent. The numbers are the numbers. Same house, 4 contracts, 4 paths. The strategy you choose depends entirely on which one you have. That is the work. The biggest mistake homeowners make when selling a home with solar is pricing the home as though leased solar adds value to the appraisal. It doesn't. The pattern is consistent. A seller looks at the panels on the roof, looks at the monthly savings they've enjoyed, and anchors the list price on the assumption that solar, any solar, increases the home's value. Then the appraisal comes back at a number that reflects only what the homeowner actually owns. And what they own is the house, not the panels. Under Fannie Mae and Appraisal Institute guidelines, leased solar and PPA systems are the property of the solar company. An appraiser cannot credit equipment the homeowner does not own. The mistake costs real money at closing. The fix is 20 minutes with the contract before you list. Find out what you actually own, then price accordingly. What you have to disclose about solar when selling your home. Solar is a material fact in a real estate transaction, which means you have to disclose it. But disclosure is not a checkbox. What you have to disclose includes the contract type, owned, financed, leased, or PPA, the monthly cost, the transfer requirements, if applicable, the remaining term on the agreement, any UCC filings on the property, any PACE liens, the warranty status of every component, the production history of the system, whether the company that installed the system is still operating. That is the disclosure. That is what a buyer's attorney is going to ask for, what the lender is going to want to see, and what title is going to need to clear closing. The agents who get this right do it before the listing goes up. The agents who get it wrong do it under pressure at week 3 of due diligence. There is no good time to find out late. Solar is a material fact in a real estate transaction, which means you have to disclose it. But disclosure is not a checkbox. What you have to disclose includes the contract type, owned, financed, leased, or PPA, the monthly cost, the transfer requirements if applicable, the remaining term on the agreement, any UCC filings on the property, any PACE liens, the warranty status of every component, the production history of the system, whether the company that installed the system is still operating. That is the disclosure. That is what a buyer's attorney is going to ask for, what the lender is going to want to see, and what title is going to need to clear closing. The agents who get this right do it before the listing goes up. The agents who get it wrong do it under pressure at week 3 of due diligence. There is no good time to find out late. 6 pieces of homework before the listing photos go up. 1, identify which of the 4 contract types you have: owned, financed, leased, or PPA. 2, pull every solar document, the contract, all addendums, the last 12 months of statements, the building permit, your monitoring credentials, and any warranty registration. 3, if your system is financed, call the financing company and request your payoff in writing. The payoff to sell, not the current balance. 4, if your system is leased or under a PPA, request the transfer packet and timeline from the solar company. Do not wait. Start now. And 5, ask your title company to run a preliminary UCC search, not at offer, at listing. 6, if you own outright, complete Form 820-07 for the appraiser. None of this is hard with weeks of runway. All of it is brutal 3 weeks into due diligence. Assuming a solar lease today and what it means when you sell tomorrow. If you are buying a home with leased solar, here's something to consider beyond your monthly bill. When you assume a solar lease, you are not just inheriting a payment. You are inheriting the contract, the transfer requirements, the escalation clauses, the operating status of the company behind it. Everything that complicates the sale you walk into today will complicate the sale your buyer faces in 15 or 20 years when it is your turn to sell. That matters. Our job at Team Paley is to not just get you into the home you want today. It is to make the home you are buying now easily sellable later, because your home is part of how generational wealth gets built and transferred. So when we look at the solar piece on a home you are considering, we look at it the long way. Is the company likely to operate in 20 years? Are the transfer mechanics workable? Is the rate escalation reasonable? The answers tell you whether assuming this lease is a small decision or a long one. Our team operates inside Keller Williams Points North. Keller Williams is the largest real estate brokerage in the world by agent count. When a homeowner with solar comes to us from outside our local market, we collaborate with a Keller Williams partner in their home region who handles the transaction work locally while we provide the solar expertise from our end. What does that look like for you? A KW agent on the ground who knows your local market, working alongside a team who has spent more than a decade on the specific issues that come up when solar is on the roof. This is informational. We aren't pulling you out of relationships you already trust. We're explaining how the geography actually works when you need solar expertise alongside a local agent.